it's kind of a long journey. I mean, if you take my past life, I'm an alcoholic. I will always be an alcoholic, but I'm recovered. So my story starts, I mean, before I came here, I now work here. The journey was into these services as a hopeless addict, as an hopeless alcoholic. I was absolutely ruined everything. My life was, couldn't have got at a lower ebb really. I'd ruined a fantastic career. I'd smashed my car up, I was waiting for court, subsequently got 3 years ban. I was inches from, I fell asleep, I had a blackout in my car, I was inches from killing people. I ended up rolling down a field and the next thing I knew, the airbags had gone off and I'd been cut out of the car by the services. Subsequently found out that like the services, the ambulance, the police that attended, it cost something like 20,000 quid just to get me to hospital. Plus, I just missed a line of school kids waiting for the school bus. Those things you can't keep in, so I had to talk about those. And I had to have psychotherapy about everything. So the knock-on effects of alcoholism, the knock-on effects of addiction is, you just can't describe how big it is. My career, I was always very good at school academically. I was brilliant. I did 3 years as a lecturer at Leeds University teaching film studies. Before that, I was an apprentice in the TV and film industry. But back then, it was kind of a great industry to be in because there was a lot of mystery behind it. There was a lot of mystique, and it was a really well-paid job. And I was an apprentice sound recordist for Yorkshire Television many years ago. And then I became freelance and I travelled the world. I worked for the BBC quite a lot. The thing about the film and television industry is the culture. The culture is drugs and alcohol. You stay away a lot, so you stay in hotels, it's all paid for. Eat what you want, drink what you want, and like at the end of a day in filming, we would kind of do, we're going to do the top shelf tonight, guys, and we did. So we ate and we drank all night and we turned up the next morning, but everyone was the same. So there was a culture of drinking. They say that alcoholism is a progressive disease, and I can kind of see that because it travels at different speeds. Some people it just affects like that and it takes over their entire life. For myself, it was a gradual kind of effect, a gradual progression from getting involved with the culture in the film industry, drinking on an evening. And when I worked for Yorkshire Television, there was even a bar, and we went to the bar at lunch. It was subsidised. So we would all then turn back up on set, half cut, and everyone was like that. So that was the culture in the industry. And it got to where I was head of a department and I had my minions and I had my assistants and things like that who would nip out at lunch and get me a bottle of whiskey in the end and sneak it back in. And it was more than the job's worth really to say anything about it. So that's what were happening on a daily basis. And I was drink driving to work, and of course everyone knew me, so I just turned up, and they wanted you for your abilities as a technician. They didn't really care about whether you were. As long as you could do your job, if you stank of whiskey, then that's all right. He's Michael, he stinks of whiskey, that's what he does. He's all right, you know, he'll do his job. So that was that, and that went on, well, I would say that was a good decade of doing that. And of course that progressed. I needed half a litre of whiskey before I even set out of the house to stop the shakes, to stop all that, to stop vomiting, just to kind of what we call function. Some people say manage, and now, and the extraordinary thing about managing is, how can you manage something that's totally unmanageable? You know, it's insane. That's what it is. It's insanity. And of course, it ended when I crashed my car, and everything came out. It was obvious. And my industry being my industry, the word goes around like stink. And of course I was freelance, and of course no one wanted to employ me anymore. But I knew that was the end of that. So I did something stupid. You know, as an addict, you're either on or you're off, and there's no middle ground ever. So I decided to stop straight away. So from 3 litres of whiskey a day, kinda, to nothing, and ended up psychotic, and ended up in hospital, and ended up in a psychiatric hospital just down the way. I didn't know where I was. So subsequently people have told me this, you know. But I was absolutely insane. And then when I got transferred to Barnsley District General Hospital afterwards, and they kind of detoxed me properly, chemically. And at the end of that, I saw some people came to see me in hospital and said, we are Recovery Steps. We'd love you to come down. We've got a cafe, we've got, you know, we do little groups, classes, we do a lot of community events, all that sort of thing. And it was like a breath of fresh air, because I knew I needed help. And if it wasn't for Recovery Steps, if it wasn't for certain people in Recovery Steps, the recovery navigators, the volunteers that are there, and other alcoholics and other addicts that are there, I'd never been in a room with other addicts, other alcoholics, ever. And when I first went in, I hid behind the door, and I'm not going in there, what am I doing? And my attitude was, why am I here with these people? Surely I'm not like all these. And it's kind of a common reaction, as I found out. Subsequently, I worked. I got well through these guys. It took me about 6 months. I'd already detoxed in hospital, and all I needed was a safe place, a sanctuary. And I learned that actually being with other alcoholics, being with other addicts, was where I needed to be. I needed to learn a lot about myself. I needed to learn about me, who I really am, because for the last 30 years I'd been my alter ego, being someone that was hiding his alcoholism. Someone every day was hiding something, lying on a daily basis. To someone who was laid bare, you know, because there's like, you are now alcohol free, that you have carte blanche. And if you've ever been presented with that in your life as a 56-year-old person, it's such a daunting task. It just blew me mind. It was like, what am I going to do? You know, am I going to work? And there were this thing in my head going around that, you know, I have a degree. Should I be working at McDonald's with a degree? And I just, honestly, if you're presented with that problem at my age, you just wonder, it's so daunting, it's unbelievable. But these guys, you know, I started volunteering with them, and I started working the cafe, and I started doing things with community events that they put on, and I started being a chaperone. I started being started running little groups on my own, and they came to me one day and said, we've seen what you're doing, and we kind of recognise you as someone who could be in this organisation, which was great, because I get to be around recovery every day, and I get to be in a place where I feel safe, and I get to work with other alcoholics, other addicts, and people who are just troubled and need somewhere, need that safety and that sanctuary. And yeah, so I did about a year of volunteering, and then my boss said, I'd like to take you on as an official apprentice, which were great because it was a route somewhere. It was putting roots down in an organisation which I consider to be somewhere that has saved my life. Really. I reckon if I'd have carried on doing what I was doing, I'd have been dead. And when everything hit rock bottom, if there wasn't this place, I think equally I could have been dead. So you know, I've got everybody and everything about this organisation to thank. And they offered me the volunteering, and they offered me the apprenticeship, and I did 6 months of an apprentice, and then my boss said, I've got a job for you. So it's just been good news after good news after good news. The beginning, when I was here at the beginning, I was an absolute idiot, and I gave them so much stress, and I knew everything, but I learned from them, you know, and they were so caring and so, they put up with me basically. They were so tolerant of me, you know, and yeah, so I owe them all that.